Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Weird and Strong podcast. I'm your host, Jeremy Grunsteiner. I'm so happy that you're here because this week we've got Danny Rios on the show talking about his path into building My Plant Medicine Journey, his company that helps expose people to the magic of plant medicine in the world. With that, let's get weird. All right, we've got the one and only Danny Rios here. Welcome, brother.
Thank you, man. Excited to be here. Thank you for hosting weird, strong people that do weird strength stuff in the world. So I appreciate you, man.
Awesome. Thank you. As we start with everybody, we start with a weird question today. I've got one. So most of the time, water doesn't have a smell, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you could choose any one smell to make water, to give to water, what smell would you give to water?
Gotcha. My automatic childhood response was fart. I don't know why.
Remember, you got a shower in this.
Yeah, I know. But then, if we can have the ocean smell, without just regular, I think that'd be really dope. I love the ocean smell, man.
Ocean smell all the time without the salt or any of the other stuff.
Yeah, that's dope. Yeah. I'd be into that. Yeah, think about it smells like ocean water, but it's just water.
Yeah,
you can drink it. That'd be cool, man.
You get to take the beach with you literally everywhere you go.
Literally everywhere, man. Yeah. Other than that, I can't really think. I mean, maybe rose water would be the next one.
Rose water.
But you could do that with essential oils, I guess. Just a little drop in it. So, yeah, man.
Cool.
Man, I was expecting something way weirder.
Yeah. Every once in a while, I have a rotation of a few of them, and sometimes they are a little bit more off the wall. Sometimes they're a little bit more of a head scratcher. I was like, that one feels like a good one for today. A little lighter. Yeah. So let's talk more about you. What are the things that make you weird? The ways that you show up unconventionally in the world, or ways that other people would view you as being a little bit outside of the norms.
Gotcha, man. I mean, the best way I can answer this question is in comparison to my previous life, right? Because what is weird, right? It's all really in a contrast, and maybe what I do, what I do now, I don't find it weird. But if I went back and look back at my life and how I used to see life, it's very weird, But I would say one of the major one is one of my biggest passions, which is how I pay my bills, which is my career, my work, my practice, which is guiding people through plant medicine work. It's there's not that many of us, and then I would say there's not that many of us that are fully devoted to making this their practice, overcoming legalities, overcoming a lot of stigma around this kind of work, and making a career out of it. I would say I'm fortunate to have a lot of people in my life that are more like this, but in regards to doing work that is in alignment with your heart fully. And when the idea comes about how you're going to be perceived, or how you're going to pay your bills, if it's not like a corporate type job that people are used to. So it's really, I've been paving my own path in this work, and so I would say that is one of the biggest differences that is weird. But I would say if I look at every aspect of my life, it's all a little weird. I'm a Mexican national that grew up in the States as an illegal immigrant.
Mm-hmm.
And that was different.
Yeah. Not very many people get to have that experience.
Yeah, I go back to it and I think about it. It's man, I was an illegal. I shouldn't have been there. I was a child up to right before I turned adult. I got my legalization. So for me, it's looking at it back now, it's man, I was illegal,
Yeah.
And so I have this weird connection with mushrooms that they're illegal.
Yeah.
you know? And so it's like, how do you make a human illegal? How do you
Mhm.
make a species of fungi illegal? Like, so I start going down this like mental like rabbit holes of what is anything, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, man. So yeah, there's been a lot of aspects of my life that have been a little bit odd. You know, when I tell people um, I was in a relationship between the ages of 16 and 30,
Mhm.
and never got married, never had kids. Like that's weird even for a Mexican. You know, it's a lot
Yeah.
of stereotypes around that. And so yeah, and you know, and I would say about in contrast of how I used to be. Uh, when my family went to the U.S., you know, I had this understanding that my parents did a huge sacrifice.
Mhm.
They left our home. Nobody spoke English. Like we all crossed the border illegally, you know. And so for me, I had this like big burden that I can't fuck this up.
Yeah.
Like I got to do what's right.
Mhm.
And so in doing what's right, well, where do you get your moral compass is going to be from society, from your people. So I was very straight edge. I played sports. I was very disciplined. Like I never missed a workout. I was like on top, right? Very like
Mhm.
the yeah, like I was a good student, good athlete. I was, you know, a popular kid going through school, and graduated, got a college degree, had a football scholarship, graduated, started going to the corporate, everything that everybody tells you to do, right?
Mhm.
And
I think your audio cut out there.
oh,
Now it's back.
there we go. Yeah, every time I achieved something that others were telling me to do, I felt this like empty void.
Mhm.
It's like I got to the point where like I have the house, I have a white picket fence, I have the partner, I have the dogs, I have the job. I'm like, why do I feel unhappy? Why do I feel like this emptiness? And you know, looking at it, you know, back then, I you know, in comparison to now, I see all the areas in my life where I was out of alignment.
Mhm.
And so within that journey, unknowingly, I was like seeking alignment. I was seeking like truth, and it was like truth to my heart. Didn't know any of that then, right? I was like, I'm just doing what people tell me to do. So in that process, you know, it really started with like entrepreneurship, where I started like being a little bit different, you know, where I started to like venture out of that path and start following my heart through supporting people in the fitness space
Mhm.
as a coach. And, you know, I've always been the type of person that just naturally I give it my best and I try to excel. Like it's just what I do, you know?
Mhm.
And so in that process, like it just, the seed was planted to open up a gym
Mhm.
and yeah, you know, I did that, got the business, got the whole thing, and then I started getting to the whole world of like personal development, like having freedom in your life, in like many areas of your life, and you know, I was able to in that time frame to go from this like straight edge, never like drink alcohol like till I was 24, didn't smoke a joint till I was like 27, like didn't touch any of the substances that now I work with. I don't work with alcohol, but you know, um, here's your mushrooms, here's your tequila. No, I'm kidding. Um, yeah, man. So really in that process, there was a lot of healing happening for me. You know,
Mhm.
for me to quit a secure job that I could have stayed in for the rest of my life and had a good retirement. You know, um, you know, having to you know, tell my parents that I was going to open up a business. You know, there was so much fear around like my failure,
Mhm.
um, and and so there was just a lot of things that I was learning and overcoming, and throughout this journey, I realized that for any problems that I was encountering in my life, they all came from me,
Mhm.
from my internal world. And my why on the other side was like the pursuit of money, the pursuit of success, the pursuit of how others viewed me.
Yeah.
And so I was still choosing like for others, what others wanted from me. And then in that process, I finally got into the world of like plant medicine. But still in the pursuit to, if I eat this, I'll be a better person, you know, and I'll be able to like make more money, and it was a lot of that. But that experience with mushrooms for the first time and destroyed actually all of that. So it gave me what I wanted. And I think that's a lot of what plant medicine does. It gives you what you want in ways that you don't know how they're going to like show up in your life. And so that's when my life started getting weird, more weird, I would say. Because all of a sudden, like I felt this like sensation in my heart, glowing sensation that I had never felt before. This enthusiasm and love for life that like I crack up a little bit just thinking about like how beautiful it feels to like really be connected to your heart. And and I would say, okay, now I'm putting things together. The weirdest thing about me is my heart. My heart's so fucking weird. Because it wants things that don't make sense. It wants things that are not rational and logical at times. And from that moment on, man, my life in the pursuit of alignment from the heart, myself, like what's true in my soul, it became something different, man. And this pursuit of alignment, it was part of that was transitioning out of that 14-year relationship. And there was a lot to unpack there. I decided to step away from my gym, which was like this big like identity of me, this, so tied to me. And yeah, man, I started supporting coaches online and traveling. And I had never traveled before, started traveling the world, started getting deeper in the plant medicine space, man. I started dating and like, going from a 14-year monogamous relationship. I was dating openly. I was dating. I was in like the time that I was single, like a couple like open relationships that opened me to dynamics of like polyamory. And understanding like that world, those energies, and yeah, man, even like how I do fitness, I started swinging a mace. I started crawling. I stopped lifting so much barbells and doing all the manly men stuff. I started being connected to my feminine side. I got a tattoo of a woman that I don't even know on my shoulder that represents my feminine side. So really, after that, my world became, something else. Really tapping to spiritual aspects of me. And yeah, man, I decided to leave America, which was super crazy because all the sacrifices we made, and then I have to go tell my mom, hey, I'm leaving back to Mexico. And she's like, what?
Why?
Why? Like I did so much to get you here. So yeah, man, it's been a fun reintegration back to my roots. And being able to, I'm Mexican American. And never before do I really feel that's who I am. Before I didn't feel American. I didn't feel Mexican. It was such a weird state. So yeah, man, throughout this entire process, it's just been this connection to my heart. Following that, it's like the magic, like the desires of the heart and like the ideas that I want to live internationally for the rest of my life, and live in Europe for a part of the year, and live in Mexico for part of the year, and live in the US in part of the year. So in between that travel, like that's things that like, do I even have time for that? And I also want to have a little farm, like all these things that literally just come from the heart. They come from visions that I believe that will, allow me to fully develop myself as a man, as a father, as a guide, as a mentor, has been the combination of all the stuff that have happened in my life, man. And so yeah, it's a little bit about me, man, and there's a lot more in the middle. And then in regards uh, to all of that, one of the biggest things that I would say is the weirdest of it all is like the container of plant medicine, like being in it.
Mm-hmm.
When I'm outside of it, I sometimes reflect back to like what happened in those containers. I'm like, that shit doesn't make sense,
Yeah.
or either my personal experiences or the experiences of others. I'm like, how the hell did that happen? Like how? So, so yeah, man, it's been a beautiful, beautiful journey, and a lot of it for me has been being able to connect people like you, man.
Mm-hmm.
Other weird ones.
Yeah.
That
Expand the web.
Yeah, it's beautiful, man. It's like it's people who are looking for alignment,
Mm-hmm.
and it just doesn't look to what the social norm.
It's very much like you were talking about, where you felt like there was something missing, or you weren't sure when you were in the corporate lifestyle. You did all the things, you checked all the boxes, and yet you're still going, there's something missing here. There's something not
Mm-hmm.
quite there. And, for myself, and I know others that have been drawn to people like you and experiences like what you provide, is that there is this sense of like, what am I doing?
Yeah.
It,
What do you think is that disconnect, man? Like, what do you think happens? Like, when, 'cause, back then, I would love to hear from you. Like,
mm-hmm.
back then when I reflect, like, I didn't know. Like, I didn't even know that I didn't know. It was
Yes.
just like, it was this very deep feeling of something missing,
Mm-hmm.
like very, very deep. Have you experienced that?
Oh
And is
yeah,
that
100%.
it?
And like in talking with other people on this podcast and talking people through my coaching practice and like just the more that I experience personally, it's exactly what you talked about as being what makes you weird is that you're leading and living from the heart. And everybody else, what we're taught from small as we can be all the way up is to lead and operate from up here, up in the
Mm-hmm,
intellectual center, in the
mm-hmm,
thinking side of things. And so we
mm-hmm,
try to make everything make sense. We try to twist and turn it, and we ignore that feeling from our heart. We ignore a lot of that. I mean, did you have a high school class on how to find and feel and open your heart?
no. How to do that as a grown man and cry up in front of a bunch of people?
Yeah, yeah, and it's beautiful regardless. And also,
Yeah,
we don't know what we don't know because we were never taught, or
yeah.
the structures that we grew into don't allow us to be in that. And so again, we don't know what we don't know. And when we are out of that alignment because it's how we're supposed to be,
Mm-hmm.
there is that feeling of, I feel like something's missing and I don't know what it is.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Uh, I always get more mystical with my answer.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty good right there. I always talk about like soul's purpose and alignment with that, and a little bit throw the word dogma in there. Whatever resonates with people. But that's simple, man. I dig that. I may or may not steal that from you.
Go ahead. I've likely stolen it from many other people or combined a bunch of other things from other people anyways.
Yeah.
Because yeah, we don't we're taught from an early age to go, to do, to achieve, to get the thing. You have a need, fulfill
Mm-hmm.
the need. It's almost like a very survivalist aspect of our modern world, which we don't really, most of us don't need to be worried too much about being chased by giant animals or dying out in the middle of nowhere. Most of us live
Yeah.
pretty comfortable lives. And
Yeah.
so when we still come at our lives with that survivalist like mindset or approach, it's no wonder why we end up where we are, or we end up
Yeah.
having the opportunities to go through journeys like you've gone through and that I've been on as well.
Yeah, man.
When you
It-
think
it-
of those moments, sorry to cut you off. I had a
no, you're
question
good.
about those
Yeah, yeah.
moments you talked about, these big pivotal moments in your life of leaving the corporate lifestyle, opening a gym, leaving a long-term relationship, deciding to leave the gym and go into the more nomadic lifestyle. Every time you were at those moments, what was that like for you? Was it just like, well, I'm gonna go do this, or was there a
Yeah,
lot going on there?
I would say there's a lot of duality, man. It's when it's been different every time, but there's always this a bit of grief and sadness,
Mm-hmm.
and pain that's associated. Um, I'm more hip to it now that on the other side, there's more love, compassion, connection, all the things on the lighter side. And so going through those processes were really difficult times in my life, really, really difficult times. And I've always been the person who supports others. And so at times I felt very lonely
Mm-hmm.
because, people, I'm the type of person who's like often checking in on people, like, how are you doing today? How do you wake up? If somebody tells me, and I think I just, I was an offensive lineman where I protected uh, a quarterback for like over a decade.
Yeah.
And then, so it's like in I've had people like hang out with me and they're like, dude, you feel safe. I'm like, oh, thanks. That's like the best compliment.
Mm-hmm.
And so a lot of times, like in like the safety that I can provide for people, like very naturally, I think it happens that either I'm not good at asking for support, but a lot of times I felt very lonely.
Yeah.
I felt, um, and after that 14 that split of that 14-year relationship, like nobody asked me, like, dude, how are you feeling? Like it was more like, oh, you guys broke up. That sucks. Tell me what happened. But it was never past that. So yeah, man, it was very difficult. Stepping away from the gym wasn't like a 1 day decision. It was something that uh, built up over months, and so yeah, I would say at first there's a lot of shadow things that I deal with.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of things with my ego, my identity, like the inner critic come up, and I'm questioning things, and yet, like I would say, as I'm going through this process, there's like this fire inside of that's like slowly like turning up, turning up, turning up. And once I go through like more towards like the middle tail end of that transition, and I'm like stepping more into the other dynamic of my life, the other chapter of my life. Um, that's when like things start connecting for me more, and they start making more sense. And so I have now like adopted like that when that it's like learn your lessons quickly and just play all out, sooner than later.
Mm-hmm.
Um, there's a gentleman, you might know him. He's in the Enlifted community, but we'll keep his name out. We're
Mm-hmm.
hanging out. We're hanging out here in Mexico, and he told me a story about why he left, and he's now traveling Mexico too. He's an American, and he said his uh, mother-in-law passed away, and she said one of the things that she told him is like, I thought I had more time.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was like when he shared that with me, that hit me. So I could see how it hit him hearing it from her, like on her deathbed, you
Yeah.
know. Um, and so like even with that is like just play all out, like go through this transition fully. Like if I'm half-assing it, like just don't do it.
Mm-hmm.
And another like layer to that I like to add to is like if I'm not doing it from a place of love, like literally stop doing it. Like don't do it. Like, and that goes with like doing dishes. Like if I'm a little irritated and I'm pissed off and I'm not doing this with love.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and so taking that into like big changes in life has been super helpful to play all out. I proposed to my wife after 3 months of dating, and it was super scary because I just, a couple of years ago, I separated for a 14-year relationship. And my biggest fear, I'm like, I got to like, what is my biggest fear? I'm like, for this to fail.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, the other one, I guess you can call it a failure in people's like standards, right? But it was a beautiful relationship. It taught me so much. And so that idea of like playing all out, like, you know what, like what the heart wants is scary. And I'm aware of that. So like fully stepping through all of that, the shadow sides of the heart, it gets us closer to the heart.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, man, that's been, I would say, to like summarize all of that in this transitions is like, I know the dark parts will come, embrace them, love them as much as you love like the good times.
Mm-hmm.
And just full effort, full heart. Because if I'm doing anything outside of that, what the hell is the purpose? It's like, what, I'm just gonna fake it through life? Like what? Like I have to live with myself.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, man, I would say those are the biggest things. I had another transition like that with a strong coach, a company that I created with my buddy Mike, and yeah, man, we took that company from like me and him and I to we had like a couple hundred graduates go through it. We had a community, beautiful thing, making good money, traveling, and it got to the point where it was like not in alignment with my heart. Like I got to go like give mushrooms to people. Like that's,
Yeah.
that's what my heart wants. And so saying to one of my best friends, like, hey, bro, like I'm stepping away. I got to follow my heart. But then having somebody on the other side who knows what that means to follow your heart and have their full support makes it easier. So with time, and as you continue finding, like, at least for me, more alignment, more people who are more have broken a lot of those constructs of society, that understand the importance of living from the heart space, and it's okay to like do these things. Like it gets easier and easier. There's a lot less resistance. If in a week I had to stop doing what I'm doing now as a career path, I'm okay with it. I'm okay with this transition. I'm okay with it. And I would say the last thing that makes all of this easier for me, it's a lot of work around my death, because that's the ultimate thing where we go to. So I'm like, if I feel good about my death, I feel really good about everything between today and then. And so, yeah, a lot of paradigm shifts, a lot of things, how I saw the world have been helpful with it. And yeah, and embracing the darkness. If you want to love, you got to love everything. So yeah, man,
100%.
that's my answer for you on that one.
Very well said. And it was fun when you got started with that. You were talking about, your journey with this and that natural facilitation, or that natural, like allowing people to feel safe, and like not quite then allowing that for yourself. It was like I was reliving the retreat that you helped facilitate, and my own realizations, my own journey were very, very parallel to that. We were deep in the start in the combo journey, where I just saw myself. I was like, I've given all this kindness out, and I've saved none for myself. Or I've ignored the ability, or ignored the opportunity to give it to self as well. I was like,
yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Dude, I just want to mention a little bit about your combo session, if that's cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
That was your first time working with Gambo, from what I remember.
Yes.
And dude, I really enjoy being in your energy with Gambo.
Yeah.
Like I remember, because a lot of it when I'm working with people in Gambo, it's a big stressor. Like, we're it's not for everybody. And it's not the most comfortable feeling unless you can get comfortable in the weirdness of Gambo. But energetically, man, like watching you take on that medicine, and you were so like, you just embraced it with like so much I felt like strength and love is like
Mhm.
the words they're shouting at me right now, man. Um, and yeah, I just want to like share, man, that was like special to like watch. And it was early on the retreat when we're all like still getting to know each other. And I take a lot from people, not so much with what they say, not even their actions at
Mhm.
times. It's like their being, you know?
Yeah.
And I learn a lot about your being in that moment, man. And just like this strong, like love, grounded is what I felt, man.
Mhm.
And so, um, yeah, man, thank you for allowing me to burn and put peptides on you.
Yeah.
That was a good time.
Yeah. Thank you for the opportunity. It's like the more that I've reflected on it the um, past couple months, and even as things have been changing for myself recently, of like, I was like, yeah, that's, there was something definitely special about it. And
Hmm.
definitely, in the work that you do of like, of allowing these ceremonies, these processes, these abilities for us to journey inwards in different ways is so important. It's
Hmm.
so vital for people to have in their lives in some way.
Yeah.
And when we are in our normal modern lives, it's easy to ignore, or easy to say, "Oh, that's just a bunch of hippie shit over there," and like
Yeah.
they're just they're just they're just doing it to have a fun time, or like get blasted out of their head, like whatever ideas people have about it.
Hmm.
And it's like what you talked about is, um, you know, being able to describe your path through this and show people that there are different paths outside of the one that we're told. Like that's the whole
Hmm.
idea for the podcast. Like it's not to be able to highlight people who are doing these things and showcase like what makes you you, and what makes your experience so unique, and who knows what your path will open up for other people
Yeah.
beyond the ceremonies that you facilitate.
Yeah, man, it's reflecting back on it now. There's a group of friends that similar community have gone through the unlifted path. I've done the strong coach um, up in the Midwest, and a few right like the day before the global shutdown, literally did like on a Wednesday, I did their first mushroom ceremony.
Mm-hmm.
And a few weeks ago, she's reaching back out to me to get some support about a person going through a psilocybin journey and some SSRIs they were taking.
Mm-hmm.
And then she filled me in. She's like, "Hey, I'm gonna guide her through a ceremony." And now they're doing they come from like a weightlifting gym,
Mm-hmm.
so it's like very like it's a
I believe I know who you're talking
Midwest,
about.
yeah. And now they're doing uh cacao
Yep.
ceremonies
And their
where
ice
they're
baths,
guiding
and
people through. But
every
yeah,
like they do them like every week now, I think. Yeah.
yeah. So
Yep.
so to me, it's like looking back at that is like when I met these people, they were like different humans. Like they
Yeah.
were like they've gotten younger as what like like spiritually like. And so for me, that is like the coolest thing to like watch their journey and in some way, shape, or form have it be in alignment with like mine,
Yeah.
and it's like my work has like that to them. And they've like guided a couple of their friends through it. And there's people that I don't even know in person that have like come full circle to me because they've like said, this guy introduced me to this work and we're introducing you to it. And we have like this like connection that uh, really started from like when I had my first mushroom experience a few
Mm-hmm.
years ago. Like that journey has never ended.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm on it all the time. It's not the microdosing; it's energetically. I'm kidding.
Yeah.
Uh, but yeah, man, yeah, it's really beautiful to like have those connections. It's for example, Sarah, somebody that deeply.
Yep.
There's been like stages of her life that I was like very present, and here we are. Like you and I are having this conversation. It's like the mushrooms work. It's
Yeah.
like they connect. They have helped me to connect me to the most beautiful people, man.
Mm-hmm.
Because like that is like the most authentic and vulnerable way to know anybody,
Mhm.
in those containers, and in this, in the container of like coaching, in the container of like plant medicine. And, yeah, man, it's been super beautiful. Yeah, it's been beautiful. Watch people evolve, watch people take off their old, like shed their old skin,
Take off the
uh,
masks.
take off the mask, like let
Yeah.
go of let go of the shield blocking their heart,
Hmm.
and like get to truly experience who they are. Like, holy fuck, that's the best feeling.
Yeah.
It's like this is you. Like this is like, like I love it. I love it. It's so enriching, man, to truly see somebody for who they are, their imperfections, their fuck ups, their humanness. Like there's nothing more beautiful than that, in my
Mhm.
opinion, man. So, um, yeah, uh, that's also in alignment with like the people that, it's, and I don't know what's going to happen in 10 years. I don't know what it could be, man. So we'll see what
Yeah.
happens.
It's awesome that you bring that up because uh, people who've listened to at this point believe the first few episodes of the podcast. I think within the first 10, you mentioned Sarah. She was on I believe like episode 5, and then your name came up as well in our first episode with April
Hmm.
Flatten. We were talking about her path, and she's like, "Yeah, I was hanging out in Danny
Hmm.
Rios's gym," and I was like, "Wait a minute." All these connections, one after another, two. It's like, oh yeah, of course. Then having my experience with you, and then now we're here on this podcast, and
Yeah.
yeah, continuing
Hey,
those ripples.
yeah, imagine who will come out of our ripple,
Yeah,
right? Like,
exactly.
yeah, I'm just gonna be hanging out one day in like Oaxaca, and I'll know somebody that Jeremy knows,
Yeah,
because that's how the world is, man.
hmm,
Very connected.
very much so. And like realizing again, like we were talking about this as far as how people go through their lives in this like disconnected state of like realizing we are so much more connected than we realize to people
Or
all
that we
over.
allow.
Yeah, and that's very much the allow is the key component there.
Yeah, because there's been times in my life where fear comes up, thoughts of rejection, and I haven't made connections with people, because I haven't allowed
Hmm.
that to happen, because the walls were up,
Yeah,
the fear was showing up.
yeah.
I didn't want to get hurt. Maybe, I don't know what it was, but yeah, man, I totally hear you on that one.
Hmm. We talked about this on another podcast that come out at a different time, but like think about like when you live in neighborhoods, the times that you don't know
Hmm.
your neighbors versus the
Yeah,
times where you
man.
do know your neighbors. Like what's
Yeah,
that feel like difference? Or like think if you live in a big city in a big apartment complex and you know nobody there.
yeah. So, dude, I have some stories on that.
Yeah, go ahead.
My wife, she was living in New York City when I met her,
Mm,
and I was nomadic at the time. I was traveling with all my stuff, and like we moved pretty fast in our relationship. And like within a week or two, we were friends for a bit. Uh, she made a comment about me moving in. I'm like, oh, my stuff are here. So I had a little time in New York City, and it was the weirdest thing to me because a lot of people that I talked to over there felt a little disconnected,
mhm.
felt, all the things that uh, happen and things are unnatural, right? Like putting a bunch of buildings and stacking people on top of each other. Like you don't see that in too many places.
No.
And to the intensity that New York City has it, um, like I would just watch people be like disconnected from one another. Like, and there's like massive amount of people like just on their phones, like doing their own thing. Very like most of the interactions that are happening are transactional. Like,
Hmm.
like you get this from me, I get this from you. And it really got me thinking of how unnatural the whole thing is. For the whole thing to survive, unnatural things have to happen. How food gets put in, how water gets brought into the area. And so, like, having that very uh, intense and beautiful experience, I'm right now in a place where, like, at night there's no noise. Like we're, like you saw the internet kind of glitch out a little bit earlier. It's like we're riding a quad. I've been wearing a sarong for the past month. That's all I wear, right?
Yeah.
And going from something that is like so natural, right? Like we have solar power here, right? Like there's like so many, so it's a bit different. Having both like as a contrast, and I'm really just like learning how much we've gotten away from our natural state of like of who we are as animals. It's like we forget we're like this monkey type creatures, right? There's ape type creatures that have a different type of intellect, and really observing at places like New York. There's a lot of mental issues that you could just see it. People that are struggling through different types of disorders, and I'm a big believer. A lot of it comes from that disconnection to self, disconnection to others. Like what, it's our bodies aren't meant to take so much energy. Like it's a lot to process, and so for me, it's I've just had a conversation with I've never thought I would with my wife. I'm like, you know what? I'd be cool if we live in New York City again. Like partially, not the whole time.
Yeah.
Because I do love that intensity. I do love that energy. And I know it's not a place for me to be like year round. Like I will have issues in the future. Like I can see that, and yeah, man, it's wild. What happens when you put that many people together? We're not supposed to know that many people. We're not supposed to try. It's just not how we've done for hundreds and thousands of years.
Well,
it's new for us.
This collaborative isolation where everybody's isolated in their own little box, and they're alone, and yet there's as many people as can possibly be around you at any given time, and yet you're completely almost unaware that they're there. You're just stuck in your own little bubble. Yeah,
I've had people like sort of run into me because they're on their phones, like, and I'm like, I'm a big dude. I gotta, move around. Yeah, man, it's what the thought that comes to mind is like where all of this is going with AI, with I've heard stories of like people having issues because like their bot like stopped like interacting with them, and they got like connected with those bots, and like crazy things like that, so
I believe I was hearing some I think it was just on NPR this weekend. They were talking about people who have set them up as like dating partners, like they've been dating an AI bot, or they've created like a semblance of like their mom who's passed, or a grandparent who's passed. Like they're able to get it to learn enough so that it simulates the response of those people, and it's learning and learning. And on the same side, people are using it like because there is this missing connection element to a lot of us. And like exactly what you said has been something I've been talking about for quite a while. Is like so many of the things that we miss out on, or so many of the things that we see as ills for ourselves, dysfunction, disease, all of these things. A lot of it comes from a lack of connection to self. Like, my own personal journey on this is like, I was at a point back in, the 2016 era where I was almost 300 pounds. Like I'm still a big guy, but not that big, like 45% body.
I've hung out on the 300s, man. I know. Yeah. I know what it's like.
And like, I was working in tech. I was working a lot. And then what comes with that is you go to happy hours Friday night. You go out again Saturday night. And there was always this, I was out with people. I was enjoying it. We were eating great food. We were having good drinks. We were having a good time. And I would get home and I would do things like order a pizza. I was like, why am I doing this? I'm not doing this because I'm having fun. Like, I'm doing this because there's something that's missing and I don't know what it is. And so I'm going to feed it with a buffer, food and alcohol. And like this realization just came in the past year of like, I was like, oh, of course. Like there was a lack of connection to self that I didn't know how to express, how to talk about, how to even identify that I was using other things to cover up.
Pizza is great, man. I've never been upset and I haven't eaten pizza, like a slice of pizza and be upset. Like that's, I could eat, they don't work.
But it was very fleeting where you're like, oh, I'm great. Next slice. Oh, it's all gone.
I've been there, man. You know, I would say, like food addiction was one of the biggest thing. When I was a child, we moved to America. My dad worked at a pizza joint.
Yeah.
So we had a shit ton of pizza in the fridge. Like you just bring a couple like every few days. And we used to live, man, like 9 people within an apartment. Like had like a couple of different aunts there. Like we're just trying to get by, you know. I remember my aunt offered me food. And I was like, no, I'm good, thank you. And then she like offered me pizza. And I was like, yeah, I'll have some of that pizza. Like, that sounds good. She's like, well, it's better you eat the other foods healthier. I'm like, I want that pizza. And I remember, I think the answer was like, I'm not hungry. And, you know, looking at it now, it's like, I just, you know, I realized how good that food made me feel.
Yeah.
And then, but that was like, I think the first moment that, it kind of like landed for me as a child, like, oh, like I kind of feel fucked up saying no to her food and saying yes to pizza. But then really looking back at it, man, I had issues with food, like, you know, all throughout, as a child, teenager. It was really sports that shifted me out of that, where it became like this necessity to eat to make myself feel better, to like, I got to eat to perform, you know? And so when my football career ended, like, you know, fast forward 12, 13 years, no, even more than that, like 20 years from that story I told you as a child, I had to go back and deal with the food thing again. Because after I stopped being an athlete, I was just eating like an asshole towards myself, you know? And I was going through a transition. I hit a little bit of depression during that time. I would say it's the time that I've been most depressed, like that transition from football. And I remember doing, you know, I started getting into like health and fitness. And I had one of a coach from a CrossFit gym was like, Danny, you're like very dedicated. You come very often, you train hard. He's like, you should eat better. It fucking triggered me, man. I was like, what do you know? I got a degree in kinesiology. You just got a CrossFit surgery. What do you know? You know? But I was like, all right, I'll do this challenge that they're advising me to do. And it was a 30-day paleo challenge. And I realized like my addiction to food when I was sitting down on the couch. I knew I had like ice cream in the fridge. And I just felt this fucking sadness, man. This like, I couldn't be in my own skin. It was like so uncomfortable. I was like, wow, I'm so addicted to sugar. Yeah. I'm so addicted to that feeling of food tasting good. And, you know, and sometimes I get in those waves, man. Sometimes I may have a little bit too much cannabis and the food tastes good. I'm having a good time and
just going in it.
But it's, you know, it's a process, man. And I'm happy that my food was addiction and not like, you know, there's people that are dealing with like really tough addictions, you know, and getting like resolution to that has been a beautiful lesson, because it was such a big part of me, like being a 315 pound man and being strong and taking a big amount of calories, all the identities that were tied to that. Like I see how people can have really tough addictions to things that are more addictive to like specific like drugs, let's say like pornography, like work that makes you money, like all these things that are can be so addicting, man. So yeah, man, it's for me, and it sounds like for you, showed up at least this one for food.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, it's we're weird. Like we're all so weird, you know. We're yeah, like my wife, she loves to travel, and oftentimes I'm kind of done seeing new buildings. Like, what can be so different from that building, this building? like the internal journey is like what you get to see and learn about yourself
Mm-hmm.
is way more interesting to me than any trip, to be frank. You know, like I don't think there's nothing more beautiful than our internal world. But yeah, man, that's food. I'm just going on rabbit holes now, but
It's all good. That's kind of the name of the game around these parts.
yeah, weird Fargo. You guys
Weird
are
Fargo.
weird up there, man.
We are quite weird. I mean, you don't survive living inside because it's too cold for most of the year without getting a little weird.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, we'll get.
Yeah, now that I'm thinking about it, it's like Sarah's a little weird. Like, you
Mhm.
know, I've gone up to like chat with like Ashley here and there. You're a little weird. You're a little weird, man. I'm like, you know, I kind of like the crew. What am I doing here in Mexico? Maybe I should be out in the cold with you guys. No,
Yeah,
I'm kidding.
we'll get you up here, and you get to experience Fargo's version of weird.
What is your guys' like warmest weather? Like what
Warmest
time of the
weather.
year?
I mean, like we get the extremes. So in the summertime, it'll get into the 80s and 90s.
Okay.
Like starting late June into late August. You know, anywhere
Yeah.
from 70s to 90s.
Gotcha.
Every year is a little different. If it's going to be more humid or if it's going to be more dry, I think it's always dry here. But this is me.
Yeah. Gotcha,
um,
man. All
and
right.
then yeah,
I'll plant a seed in my brain. Uh, June, it's a good time.
June is a good time. Yeah. Sometimes it's really rainy, but you know, come what may. Put it
Yeah,
out there
man.
and see what happens. Um, as we start to wrap things up, like anything that you want to bring forward to the listeners, anything that you want to promote, anything that you know, how can people, if they're curious
Uh-huh.
about taking their first steps into a plant medicine journey, how can they do that?
Just eat the mushrooms. I'm kidding.
Find
Just
some
find a
growing
local
in your
person.
lawn.
Just eat them. No, I'm kidding. I have a few resources for people, depending where they're at in their journey. You know, I'm all about giving value. Anybody that I've ever invested in has given me immense value before I work with them. I have a couple resources. I have an online community that people can join for a month. It's all on my plantmedicinejourney.com. And within that community, there's different courses. There's a plant medicine preparation course that helps you with your mindset and really sets really grounded intentions. There, you've gone a little bit through that process and story work. You know about
Yes.
this stuff, man. So people can join that absolutely free for a month, and then if they want to continue on and have somebody support them alongside that is like $30 a month, and there's like free access to other courses. They can reach to me with whatever they want. I also started a podcast that has guided meditations that are specific to plant medicine with different binaural beats in the background to help people because a lot of it you know in integrating the experience is being able to bring that felt sense into the world into your internal world. And so that's the intention behind those meditations, like get you to the sound frequency that can take you there, take you through. There's a lot of universal things that happen through the work of plant medicine and psychedelics, like that we are all one, right?
Mm-hmm.
That like that's something that a lot of people can experience. So I'll guide people through remembering that we're all interconnected and remember your first mushroom experience. Remember a lesson from there, bring it to your consciousness. And so, although if people haven't like maybe done plant medicine, like that's a good way to get a lot of what you're going to receive through a mushroom experience. Like now, like you don't need to like go into that to take a moment, lay down and feel. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what plant medicine is, in my opinion. It's an internal, people say it's an out of body experience, or it's an internal body experience. It's just so foreign to you that it feels out of body, you know?
Yeah.
But it's, and so yeah, I would say those are like the two. And I have a podcast, my Plant Medicine Journey podcast, where I interview people and like, tell me about your plant medicine journey. Tell me who you are. How did it help you? Because, you know, a lot of it, people think that, you know, I'm in a spiritual hub right now, and I see the people who are in this space. A lot of people that would come into this container would like, this is fucking weird, you know.
Mm-hmm.
but so it could be very weird for a lot of people. So I it's not always like that. Like work with people who are in real estate, accountants, mothers, like very normal people that get a lot from this. And so hearing somebody that you may relate with may support you with your journey. So I would say those are a couple ways that people can. All you need is your effort, right? If you want to uh, find alignment in your life, resolve things that are unresolved. If you want to like learn how to communicate better with your partner, like all that stuff that are human stuff that we sometimes need tools are all available for you. And yeah, like I said, all you really need is your effort. And if people give me that effort, I'll meet you halfway.
Yeah.
I'll meet you halfway. And then if people wanted to go deeper than that, man, I travel to people. I traveled to Austin to do that ceremony for you and the group of men. And so yeah, it's I do a retreat that takes 44 hours to complete. It's perfect for the busy individual that wants to go in the deep end of this world. That's my favorite thing to do, to take people that have like no clue what the space is, and by the end of the 44 hours, it's like a whole different human. That's
Yeah.
like my favorite. So yeah, if you're one of those that are curious about this and want to, especially if you're a newcomer, I get super excited of newcomers when they're approaching me with that. And then I would say people can come visit me here in Oaxaca too, where they can have a really authentic tradition of mushroom exists here, where you can go to a lobby of a cabin and say, "Can I get some mushrooms?" They're like, "Sure." They'll go grab them for you. It's like I call my retreat center that I work out of, and the person, I'm like, "Hey, I plan to go there and do mushrooms." They're like, "Oh, we love that. Come through." Like the level of freedom that exists here around this type of work is very liberating energetically, so people can like submerge themselves into that, like where there's mushroom art everywhere, and it's just like you can join any Facebook group with a conscious or spirituality hint to it in this area, and you'll find plant medicine. It's very available in this part of the world. So yeah, if people really want to submerge themselves, I love to take people and give them like a whole taste of the entire states. I'm from the entire state. I'm from Oaxaca, so I love it here, man. It's like I'm very biased. I'm from here, so when people come, I want them to like love this place as much as I do. So they'll fly into Oaxaca City. I'll set them up with tours. I'll set them up with places to go, where to stay. Like I want them to enjoy Oaxaca. We spend a couple days there. We go into the mountains, do our ceremony. We're there, 2 nights, 3 days. And then from there, I always suggest once we get done with our shindig in the mountains, head down to the coast and do the coasting. There's like 4 different areas here that they're all very different. So I invite people to like check one of those out and really like submerge yourself in this rich culture, where this is where the mushroom guided ceremonies survived through colonialism from the Spaniards. It survived all of the pressure against like the war on drugs. Like it's this little pocket of the world that kept this culture that reboomed back in the 50s, right? And later in the 60s, and then it disappeared after, or it got shut down and suppressed after the war on drugs and all that stuff. So yeah, man, I would say that's the ultimate way of doing it. Like come to Mexico. There's something about eating, food from where it's from. If you go to that place and eat their food, it's like, oh, it's a lot different. Same here. Like when you step into the culture, where you get submerged by the energy, like go to the mountains where the psychedelic mushrooms just grow like naturally throughout the rainy season. It's something else. It's like having if you haven't had a margarita pizza in Napoli, you haven't had a margarita pizza. It's the same thing. If you haven't had like a mushroom experience where mushrooms just naturally grow, where all this stuff gets cultivated. It's like, come and do it. And I'm currently working on an ebook for magic fungi, and that'll be available for people to educate themselves more. And then lastly, if anybody ever has any questions and just want support, because I know how this space can be, either you're considering or if you had an experience and are learning to like deal with the energies, with the thoughts, with the emotions that are coming up, reach out to me on Instagram, daniel.rios.romero. Ask me whatever you want. I'm very happy to support people. And yeah, man, those are ways that people can connect with me and get free resources. And they want to do the big one, come out, hang out. And if you can come out, I'll come to you.
Yeah.
No excuses.
Exactly. Thank you so much for sharing that. We'll have all that information in the show notes for people who are interested in learning more or who are curious to get more of the wisdom from Brother Danny. Any final thoughts before we wrap this up?
Yeah, I have one last final thought, man. I know I acknowledge you a little bit with Cambo, and for me, whether it's a group or private ceremony, I get to connect with people and like in that energetic sense that you just can't replicate. And yeah, man, just thank you for doing this for people, to sharing the word that you can do what you want in life and what's in alignment with your heart, man. And for me, it's exciting to have these conversations because the typical conversations that I would say most people have, it's complaints about their partner, complaints about their life, complaints about complain, what's not working, all those negations. And so to me, it's refreshing to have somebody like you, so grounded, so strong, lead conversations like this. And yeah, man, you're just all around like super kind, loving human, and so thank you, man. Thank you for sharing that space with me in that men's retreat. As I'm sharing all of this, I'm having like glimpse of different, like, one of the nights we were jamming out with Ian and like playing the guitar, your combo session, reflecting back on like some of the photos where we were doing our eyes closed, and having another brother who has lifted weights, who's not, we're meaty people, we're not, if somebody's gonna move, they'll call us to help them, and so like having a gentle giant, a big bear like me, it's really nice, man. It's really comforting. And yeah, man, thank you for having me on today, and thank you for allowing me to guide you in that retreat. And I'm excited to see where this ripple continues, like we said earlier, man. So yeah, I just want to acknowledge you, man, and share my gratitude for you.
Thank you very much. And yeah, with that, we'll wrap it up. All right, stay strong, folks, and most importantly, stay weird.
Yeah.